the last human colony, and the promise of the unknown gods. The year was 3427, and Earth was no more than a whisper in human memory. Decades of war, pollution, and cosmic disasters had left the planet uninhabitable. Humanity had scattered among the stars, but not all colonies had survived. Out of the billions who had left, only one colony remained. Haven, a small settlement orbiting a dim, dying star at the edge of the Veyra Expanse. Haven's population was tiny, less than 1,000 souls, but they carried with them the last flicker of human knowledge, culture, and hope. The colony was built inside a series of vast, interconnected domes, each sealed to protect life from the cold vacuum outside. Domes of living quarters, domes of farms, domes of schools, and labs stretched like silver bubbles across the barren rock of Veyra. 9. Amid this fragile civilization, Commander Elara Voss stood on the observation deck of Dome Alpha, staring at the star's dim glow. Her reflection shimmered faintly against the glass. Elara had seen too much death to believe in miracles, yet something about the Veyra Expanse whispered of possibilities beyond human understanding. "Commander," said a soft voice behind her. She turned to see Cale Arden, the colony's chief scientist, walking toward her. His hair was streaked with gray, though he was barely 50. "The energy readings we've been picking up from the outer reaches, they're increasing. Faster than we can explain." Elara frowned. "You mean the signals?" Cale nodded. "Yes. They're not just random cosmic radiation. There's structure, patterns. Almost intelligent." Elara sighed. "We can't risk another contact like the one that destroyed Nereid colony. Last time, we followed signals into a trap. It almost wiped us out entirely." Cale looked at her with quiet determination. "These signals are different, Elara. I've run the simulations hundreds of times. If we don't investigate, we'll never know if this star system offers salvation or annihilation. There's something calling to us. Something beyond our understanding." Elara stared at the faint light of their dying star, thinking of the hundreds who had sacrificed everything to survive here. "Unknown gods," she muttered. "You really believe there are gods out there?" Cale smiled faintly. "Not gods, maybe, but entities. Powers older than humanity, who have watched the universe evolve. If they exist, they might be the key to our survival." A sudden tremor shook the observation deck. The colony's alarms blared, red lights flashing in a frantic rhythm. Elara steadied herself, heart pounding. "Report." "Microquakes," said Cale, checking his handheld console. "Nothing structural yet, but the readings are coming from outside the colony, from the same direction as the signals." Elara gritted her teeth. "Then we don't have time to waste. Prepare the expedition team. We leave at dawn." The first rays of Veyra 9's dim sun barely lit the rocky horizon when Elara and her team assembled at the launch bay. The expedition was small. Elara, Cale, Lieutenant Mara Quinn, a skilled pilot, and Joran Liss, the colony's communications officer. Their vessel, the Haven Seeker, was one of the few ships capable of navigating the unstable gravitational currents near the edge of the Veyra Expanse. Inside the ship, the air hummed with quiet tension. Mara adjusted her flight controls while Joran checked the signal scanners. Cale, meanwhile, ran through his data again, muttering numbers and probabilities under his breath. "Elara," Mara said softly, "you really think we're walking into a miracle? Or a death trap?" Elara clenched her jaw. "If it's a trap, we won't survive long anyway. But if it's our only chance, we have no choice but to see it through." The ship lifted off with a quiet roar, leaving the domes of Haven behind. As they moved farther from the colony, the signals became stronger. They were faint at first, like a whisper across space, then a pattern emerged, rhythmic pulses that almost felt musical. Joran frowned. "I've never seen anything like this. It's structured, almost like a language. But it's not any human language. And it's not machine code either." Cale leaned over the console. "That's why I think they're not human. Not even something we can classify. These entities, they've existed for eons. They're calling us, waiting for us to understand." Hours passed. The team followed the signals deeper into a cluster of jagged asteroids, the remnants of a collapsed star system. Space around them seemed to shimmer with strange colors, impossible to describe, as if reality itself was bending. Suddenly, the Seeker's instruments went haywire. Readings spiked in every direction. The ship trembled violently, alarms blaring. "Brace!" Elara shouted. Mara gripped the controls, straining to keep them from being torn off course. Then, just as suddenly, everything stopped. Silence. The starfield outside the viewport twisted into something luminous, alive. The signals, now clear, distinct, resonated in the minds of the crew as if speaking directly to them. Kale whispered, awestruck. "They're here. The unknown gods, they're here." The ship's scanners revealed a structure floating amidst the asteroids. It was enormous, shaped like a cathedral of light, unlike anything built by human hands. Its surface shimmered with iridescent energy, reflecting the dying star in 1,000 impossible colors. Joran swallowed hard. "Are we supposed to dock there? Or are we trespassing?" Elara stared at the structure. "We don't have a choice. If this is the salvation Kale thinks it is, we need to make contact. Carefully. Step lightly and observe everything." As the Seeker approached, the light of the structure pulsed in response, like a heartbeat. The signals intensified, wrapping around the crew's thoughts in a way that was both terrifying and beautiful. They felt a sense of warmth, hope, and fear all at once. And then, a voice, clear, calm, and echoing through the very fibers of their being, spoke in unison to all of them. "Welcome, children of the last star. You have come seeking the unknown. Will you listen and learn, and promise to carry the truth beyond the edge of time?" Elara felt her knees weaken. She looked at her team. None of them spoke, yet each understood the question as if it had been written in their souls. Kale's voice trembled. This is what we were searching for. But what truth? What promise?" The light cathedral shimmered, and a pathway of pure energy extended from it to the Seeker, inviting them in. Elara exhaled slowly. "We step forward together. Whatever awaits, we face it. For Haven. For humanity." And with that, the Seeker glided into the Cathedral of Light, leaving the emptiness of space behind and entering a realm beyond comprehension. The moment the Seeker passed through the radiant doorway, reality itself seemed to fold around them. Space and time lost their usual meaning. Colors no human eye could name swirled in patterns, flowing like rivers of light and shadow. The crew could feel the cathedral around them, not just with their eyes, but with their minds. Kale whispered, "It's alive. Not just a structure, it's consciousness." Elara steadied herself against the console. Her heart raced with fear and awe. Then, we're inside its mind? A voice, calm and ancient, spoke again. This time, it did not echo in their ears, but directly within their thoughts. "You have come seeking knowledge. You are the last of your kind, yet you carry within you the spark of creation. Humanity has ended its time, and yet, you endure. Will you embrace the unknown, or cling to what is lost?" Joran, pale and trembling, asked aloud, "How do we embrace it? What does it even mean?" The light around them shifted, coalescing into forms. For the first time, they saw the unknown gods, not as humanoid beings, but as living constellations of energy, patterns dancing in ways that defied physics. They were beautiful, terrifying, and utterly incomprehensible. Kale took a deep breath. "I think they're offering us a chance to survive. But not in the way we imagine. Humanity cannot continue as it was. We must change, evolve." Elara's mind spun. Change how? The gods' presence pulsed, sending waves of thought directly into them. Elara saw visions of human history, the wars, the destruction, the greed, the triumphs, and the failures. She saw Earth burning, the scattering of colonies, and the isolation of Haven. And then she saw possibilities. Humans living in harmony with stars, minds expanded, bodies adapted to the void. Knowledge that surpassed centuries of learning. A new form of existence, Not purely flesh, not purely machine, but something in between. We offer a covenant, the gods said. A path to preserve your kind, but only if you promise to carry the seed of understanding beyond your stars. You must learn to listen, to protect, and to transcend. Only then will the last human colony endure. Elara's hands shook. The weight of the choice pressed upon her. Humanity's legacy rested on her decision. Mara, sensing her commander's hesitation, spoke softly. We're already the last. If we refuse, everything dies with us. Kale nodded. It's a risk, but without it, there is no future. Elara inhaled slowly, letting the enormity of the moment settle. She closed her eyes and whispered, We accept. We promise. The cathedral of light shivered in response, the colors intensifying. The gods' forms merged into a single, radiant pulse, sending waves of energy through the seeker. The crew felt their minds expanding, their senses stretching across dimensions. Knowledge flooded them, not in words, but in understanding. Visions of distant worlds, of civilizations long vanished, of cosmic forces beyond comprehension. They absorbed it all. Yet amidst the vastness, the message was clear. Humanity could survive, but only by evolving beyond fear, beyond attachment, beyond what it had known. When the light finally subsided, the seeker drifted in silence, the cathedral gone, leaving them alone in space. But the crew was no longer entirely human, not in the way they had been. Their thoughts intertwined with the understanding of the unknown gods. They could feel the pulse of the cosmos, the flow of time, the threads of life across galaxies. Kale turned to Elara, eyes wide with awe. We understand now. Everything is connected. Haven is not just a colony, it's the beginning of something greater. Elara looked out at the Veyra Expanse, its jagged rocks and distant stars now alive with unseen currents of energy. Then we return, she said. We share what we've learned. Haven will not just survive, it will become the first step toward a new humanity. Joran, still shaking, asked, But what if the others can't understand? Elara smiled faintly. They will. Eventually. Understanding takes time. But we are the last seed, and seeds always grow in their own way. The crew began the journey back to Haven, carrying within them the promise of the unknown gods, a covenant that would shape the fate of humanity for millennia. And as the seeker glided through the void, the stars themselves seemed to shimmer in acknowledgement, whispering in a language older than time. The seeker returned to Haven several days later. From orbit, the colony appeared small and fragile, a cluster of domes glimmering in the dim light of the dying star. Yet for Elara and her team, everything had changed. The colony they had left was the same in form, but the people returning to it carried knowledge beyond comprehension. Elara stood at the central dome's entrance as the crew disembarked. Colonists rushed to greet them, unaware of the transformation that had taken place. Relief, curiosity, and worry mingled in the air. "Commander," shouted Lyra, the colony's medic, rushing forward. "We were so worried. You look different. Are you okay?" Elara smiled, though it was faint. "We're fine, Lyra. But we've learned things that will help Haven survive." Kale stepped forward, sensing the skepticism in the crowd. "The signals we followed weren't just random. They came from entities older than our civilization, unknown gods. They've given us a covenant, a chance to preserve humanity, but only if we change, if we evolve, if we learn to exist beyond our fears." Murmurs rose among the crowd. Some faces showed awe, others fear. Mara and Joran tried to explain, but words felt inadequate. How could one describe the experience of touching the mind of a god, of feeling the pulse of the universe itself? Elara raised her hands for silence. "We are the last human colony. Haven is fragile. But the unknown gods have offered a path, not a guarantee, but a promise. If we listen, if we learn, if we work together, humanity will endure. Not just here, but across the stars." An elder colonist, Ronan, stepped forward. His voice was trembling but firm. "And if we refuse? If we can't understand? Elara met his gaze. Then we fade away. But I believe we will understand. We have no choice but to try. Haven is not just our home. It is the seed of the future. Kale began demonstrating what they had learned. Plants in the colony's hydroponic farms could be modified at a molecular level to survive harsher environments. Energy systems could be tuned to tap into subtle cosmic currents, giving Haven nearly limitless power. Even human biology could adapt slowly, safely, guided by the knowledge imparted by the gods. Over the following weeks, the colony began to change. The people of Haven learned to work with the new energy patterns, to listen to subtle signals from the stars, to sense life and movement in ways that had seemed impossible. Fear of the unknown remained, but so did wonder. Elara often stood on the observation deck, gazing at the star-strewn void. Sometimes, she could feel the presence of the unknown gods, watching, guiding, challenging them. The pulse of their light still hummed faintly in her mind, a reminder of the promise they had made. One evening, Mara joined her. "Do you think the others will ever see the gods as we do?" she asked. Elara shook her head. "Not at first. Understanding comes slowly. But they will see. They will learn. And one day, Haven will be more than a colony. It will be a beacon." Below, the domes glimmered softly as the colonists went about their work. Every action, every choice, was now guided by a subtle awareness that they were no longer alone in the universe, not in the way humans had thought before. Kale approached Elara, holding a small, glowing crystal. "This was left for us at the cathedral," he said. "It contains a seed of their knowledge. We can use it to teach, to expand our minds safely, to pass the covenant to future generations." Elara took it carefully. Its light pulsed warmly in her hands. "Then we begin. One step at a time. Haven may be the last human colony, but it will not be the last human hope." And as the star above Haven dimmed, the colony glowed brighter than ever before, not with artificial light, but with the spark of life, understanding, and the promise of the unknown gods. Months passed, and Haven began to transform. The colony was no longer just a collection of domes clinging to a dying star. It had become a living organism of knowledge, energy, and human ingenuity, guided by the covenant of the unknown gods. Plants grew faster, feeding the colonists in abundance. Energy flowed through the domes like lifeblood, lighting the settlement without strain. Even the people themselves began to change. Some reported feeling a subtle connection to one another, a shared understanding that allowed thoughts to pass almost silently between minds. Yet not everyone accepted the changes easily. A faction of colonists, led by Taryn, a former security chief, resisted. They feared that embracing the unknown gods would erase humanity itself, that the colony would no longer be truly human. One evening, as Elara walked through the central dome, Taryn confronted her. "Commander Voss, you've led us into a trap. These gods, these changes, they will destroy what little is left of humanity. Haven is being lost, not saved." Elara met his gaze calmly. "We are already lost, Taryn. Haven survived by chance, not by safety. The choice is between evolution and extinction. We are not losing humanity. We are shaping it to endure." Taryn shook his head. "Endure? Or become something unrecognizable? I won't let this happen without a fight." Kale, standing nearby, intervened. "Taryn, this isn't about power. It's about survival. Haven cannot thrive the way it was. The unknown gods have shown us a path, but it requires trust, cooperation, and willingness to change. Refusal will lead only to decay." Despite Kale's words, tension grew. Small conflicts flared among colonists, old fears clashing with new possibilities. Elara knew that leading Haven now required more than courage. It required vision, patience, and wisdom. She called a council. Every colonist was invited, each voice heard. Elara stood in the center, the glowing crystal from the unknown gods resting on a pedestal. Its pulsing light cast shadows across the worried faces. "We are at a crossroads," Elara began. "We can cling to what we were and watch Haven fade with the dying star. or we can embrace what we are meant to become. The gods have offered a covenant. They do not demand worship, they offer guidance, understanding, survival. Humanity will endure only if we accept the unknown. Slowly, the murmur of dissent began to quiet. The crystal's light seemed to reach into their minds, showing them glimpses of the universe's patterns, the beauty, the order, and the vast potential of their kind. Terran remained silent, his arms crossed, but even he could not deny the sense of connection that began to ripple through the council. One by one, colonists nodded, some with tears in their eyes, as understanding dawned. Over the following months, the colony's evolution accelerated. Communication between individuals improved, almost instinctive. Knowledge that once took years to learn could now be absorbed in days. The people of Haven began to experiment with exploration beyond Veyra, 9, sending probes that were guided not just by technology, but by intuition shaped by the Covenant. Elara and Kale worked together, teaching the colonists how to attune themselves to the subtle rhythms of the universe. Mara piloted missions further into the Expanse, discovering planets once thought uninhabitable, now brimming with possibility. One night, as the dim star hung low over the horizon, Elara stood beside Kale on the observation deck. "We've done more than survive," she said softly. "We're becoming what they promised. Haven will be the first of many." Kale nodded, gazing at the stars. "The universe is listening now. We're not alone, and we're not helpless. Humanity may have been on the edge of extinction, but now we have a chance to carry our legacy across time and space." Below them, the colony glimmered with life and hope. The unknown gods had given them the promise, and Haven had accepted it. The first steps of a new human era had begun. Years passed, and Haven became something more than a colony. It became a symbol, a living testament to humanity's resilience and capacity for change. The domes glimmered not just with light, but with understanding. Every colonist now carried within them the knowledge of the unknown gods, a covenant that linked them to the cosmos in ways they could not have imagined before. Elara walked through the central dome, now a hub of learning and exploration. Children born on Haven were different from those who had come from Earth. They were attuned to the subtle rhythms of the universe, able to sense patterns and energy flows without words. It was a new generation, the first true step toward what the gods had promised. Kale joined her, holding a crystal pulsing softly in his hands. "We've done it, Elara. Haven has become what we hoped. And now it's time to go further." Terran, once the leader of the dissenters, stood among them, a changed man. He whispered to Elara, "I was afraid, but now I see. Haven is not lost. Humanity is only beginning." Elara smiled. "Yes, Terran, we are only beginning." The first ships lifted off, leaving Haven behind but carrying the light of its people into the cosmos. As they disappeared among the stars, the colony glowed brighter than ever. The unknown god's presence lingered, subtle but unwavering, a silent blessing, a guide for the journey ahead. Elara watched the ships disappear into the distance. Her heart swelled with pride and hope. Humanity was no longer the fragile, scattered species it had once been. They were evolving, guided by knowledge and understanding, ready to meet the vast universe with courage. Above Haven, the dying star pulsed once, faintly, as if acknowledging the new chapter that had begun. And somewhere, beyond the edge of the known universe, the unknown gods listened, patient and eternal, as the last human colony became the first of a new civilization, one that would carry the promise of life, learning, and hope across the stars. Elara whispered into the night sky, a vow carried on the cosmic winds. "We will not fail. We will endure. And we will carry your promise to the ends of everything." The stars shimmered in response. The universe had listened.